welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna actually do a little get ready with me while I tell you guys the story of how I gave birth. So a little story time today. So obviously I haven't gotten ready yet at all, so I just woke up. Baby girl's like in her little swing right now, and then eventually during one of her naps I'll go ahead and get ready with you guys, but we'll see how that pans out because she is actually going through the 4-month sleep regression right now. So putting her down it's not super hard, but it's a little more difficult than usual, and she's only catnapping maybe 30 to 45 minutes, so I only have that time to get ready with you guys. So it's quite an ample amount of time for me considering I don't do as much makeup anymore, but I still want to try and do my best for you guys, so just tag along and we'll see how this video goes. Also, just as a reminder, I want to thank everyone so much who has liked my videos and subscribed to my channel. I love and appreciate all the support you guys have shown me. It is really nice to see that people are out here supporting me. Like, I didn't expect it as much as you guys have already shown, so I'm really grateful for that. And if you're new here to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. So thanks guys, and I'll catch you guys later. Hey guys, so let's go ahead and start getting ready. Okay, so first, if you noticed, I already went ahead and put my lashes on because usually that takes a little bit longer, so I didn't want to do that on camera and have you guys like waiting in what feels like an eternity. So I'm just gonna actually show you guys, like, I put on my lashes and then I went ahead and put moisturizer on my face. I went ahead and used the e.l.f. Holy Hydration, and then I also used the e.l.f. Skin, the Well Glow in the SPF 30. Love it. Always gotta put on your sunscreen. And then I also went ahead and used a Depuff Eye Serum because I do be looking tired a lot. Damn bird. I do be looking tired a lot, so I get this from Essence, so I like this a lot. It's really good. And so yeah, that's all I really have on my face right now. So the way that my birth story goes, I guess like all birth stories, I mean, it's kind of like there's a lot that happened in between what led up to the actual birth, but I'm just going to talk about mainly like the day of, because obviously like that's what's the most important and most interesting. So my birth story started on, and then I'm actually going to be using e.l.f.'s Glow Primer Serum. If I forget to mention any of these things before, I do apologize. I actually sometimes am just losing concentration. So my birth story actually starts on August 11th, and I went ahead and called my doctor because I had gotten another high blood pressure reading. My blood pressure had been a little bit on the higher end the last 3 weeks of my pregnancy, and I was about 39 weeks at this point, so considered full term, which is why they were talking about me getting induced, which led up to me calling them and so on and so forth. So that day, August 11th, that Friday, I go ahead and let my doctor know that, hey, I have a high blood pressure reading again. I know we talked about getting induced. What do you want to do? And so that day she goes ahead and decides, like, we're going to go ahead and induce you this day. We're going to go ahead and see if there's a room available, stand by, and I will call you back. So I was like, okay. This is probably about in the evening-ish, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. Can't really say, don't really remember the time, but I do remember it was like more in the evening time because my husband had already come home from work. And the reason I also called was because I had an appointment on Monday, and I wasn't sure that I was gonna wait until Monday because I was probably going to get induced even then at that point because of my high blood pressure. So I just decided to give a call on Friday. So my doctor goes ahead and gives me a call back, and she's like, hey, we have a room available for you. It'll be ready for you at 9 p.m. So go ahead and come in at 9. So I was like, okay, like, this is really happening. I tell my husband, he sees the look on my face and he's like, oh my god, like, this is really happening. And I was like, yep, it's happening. And he was like, okay. So he kind of starts panicking. I kind of start panicking because we had the stuff ready. I think it was just like the new parent jitters we were feeling, and we also decided to have like our last meal together as a family of 2. So we went ahead and got sushi from our favorite spot. And actually I didn't have actual sushi. I had fried sushi because I couldn't have it while I was pregnant, but nonetheless, e.l.f. brow lift for my brows. Gonna let that dry a bit. Then I go ahead and we start getting our dogs ready to take them to a friend's house. Since I'm going to be giving birth, we can't bring the dogs obviously to the hospital, and we're going to bring them over to a friend's house. So we start getting the dogs ready, drop them off, and at 9 p.m. or obviously before then, because we had to be there by 9, we start heading over to the hospital. And it's like obviously so surreal at this point, like we couldn't actually believe that this was happening. So we were just kind of like, So we get to the hospital, and lo and behold, I walk by myself to the labor and delivery unit because the parking garage was like a little whiles away, and I didn't want to walk more than I already had to, so I just had my husband drop me off at the front. It wasn't like a big deal. And then I went ahead and checked in and was just waiting for my room to be ready, and then waiting for Rick to bring up our stuff and do all that. So yeah, because the girl was not going to carry all that stuff. 9 months pregnant. No way, Jose. So yeah, that happened. And then once we get into the room, they go ahead and start prepping me, you know, putting me into the gown. The room was nice and spacious. I really liked it. The nurses were like 10/10s, like all of them. Don't really remember their names. Wish I did. Also, this is another elf little brow thing. And they were just really sweet. As like everyone's getting me ready, like they're, you know, telling me about like everything, and because I was getting induced, I hadn't dilated much. I was probably maybe at 1 centimeter, so they go ahead and suggest like, hey, we're gonna do this thing called like a Foley balloon, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna expand you to 3 centimeters, and once you get there, it'll go ahead and just slide out basically, and then we'll continue on with what we should do next. And I was like, okay. They went ahead and forewarned me that the Foley balloon was gonna hurt pretty bad, and I was like, yeah, no, that's fine, because I was already anticipating being in pain because I'm giving birth, so I didn't think it was gonna be that big of a deal. I was totally wrong. The Foley balloon is the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life, and I would not do it again. So, long story short, that was the worst pain, and the Foley balloon does its thing. I get to 3 centimeters, and eventually it gets taken out. And so my doctors and nurses go ahead and discuss like what to do with me next. And they're like, okay, well, like we'll go ahead and start you on Pitocin because you've been contracting. Now we want to get those contractions stronger and closer together. So we'll go ahead and start you on Pitocin. And again, I'm already at 3 centimeters, so almost to halfway there to 10 centimeters. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm fine with the Pitocin. Once we start on the Pitocin, it's probably already Saturday at this point. Yes, it's actually Saturday. So it's Saturday, and then we start on the Pitocin, and eventually I get up to be 6 centimeters. And then at that point, my nurse goes ahead and advises me like, hey, I know you said eventually you wanted the epidural, so I just want to say, like, maybe you should start considering to do it now, because we don't want you to get to a point where your pain is super unbearable and the anesthesiologist is not available to do it as soon as you want to. So I give it a moment's thought, and eventually I decide like, okay, I'll go ahead and do the Pitocin now. Like, not the Pitocin, the epidural. I'll go ahead and do the epidural now, not a big deal. Now, what I didn't know is that the epidural is considered a sterile procedure, so Rick wasn't allowed in the room at that time that it was being done, which scared me a little bit, you know, because I didn't want to lead on how scared I was, but I was actually terrified because I thought he was going to be with me to be able to like at least hold my hand and stuff, and he wasn't. The pain of it wasn't too bad as much as I thought it was going to be, but I felt the poke and I flinched, and I remember just like the anesthesiologist getting mad at me, telling me like I didn't know how to round my back because I really didn't know how. Like, I still struggle with it even now and then. Like, I have no idea what people are talking about. I tried my best, but I wasn't doing it correctly, I guess, and she was kind of getting mad at me, so I was like, okay, I'm sorry. And I flinched when she poked me because I don't recall her telling me like, hey, I'm gonna poke you now, and then I flinched really bad, I guess, and she was like, okay, like, let's not do that. And so, yeah, eventually the epidural goes in, and it works like really well for me. So now I'm at 6 centimeters, and the epidural is working good. It's Saturday evening, going into the night now, and we're waiting for me to just progress at this point. And of course, in between all of this, you know, they're checking me obviously for dilation to see how far along I am, hence why they know I'm 6 centimeters. So, you know, I'm 6 centimeters, have the epidural in. doing the Pitocin, and everything is going swimmingly so far. So it's been like a really great experience, for the exception of the Foley balloon. But regardless, I'm having a really great experience, trying to nap, watch movies, and you know, it's going well. After I go ahead and get the epidural, I'm 6 centimeters. We're just waiting for me to progress at this point. And see, I can't multitask. It's kind of really hard for me. And so we're just waiting for me to progress at this point. Like I said, it's Saturday evening, going into the night now, and we're just waiting for me to progress. Like, labor is sometimes just a waiting game too, because you have to wait for your body to do the thing. And at one point during the dilation checks, some doctor says, oh, like, she's 9 centimeters, like she's gonna be able to push. And I was like, oh yay, like I remember feeling so excited, and I was like, yay, 9 centimeters, like I only have one more, and I can go ahead and start pushing. Like, I was literally so excited. And then eventually a different doctor walks in, and she goes ahead and checks me for dilation, and she goes ahead and lets everyone know, hey, she's actually like at 8 centimeters, and her cervix is actually still really hard, because what has to happen to your cervix is it has to thin out enough for your baby able to come through the canal. And even if you're dilated, if you're not thin enough, like, you can't start pushing. So I was like, okay, cool, like how did I regress? And everyone just kind of has like their little, you know, talks amongst each other, and they just come to an agreement that like I'm actually at 8 centimeters and not 9, which stunk, because I was like, I felt like I had progressed so much, and then to feel like I'm actually going reverse now, like that was the first hard thing to deal with. Once they tell me that, you know, I'm actually at 8 centimeters, like I still hadn't lost hope. I was like, okay, cool. We can just continue on the Pitocin. They were like, yeah, and that's the game plan so far. So we're just going to continue on the Pitocin, see how you progress, and just follow you through the night, and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll just go ahead and do that. I'm not too worried at this point. Now we're just playing the waiting game, and again, waiting for me to dilate more than we had originally thought I was. And it gets to be morning time, and they check me again for dilation, and I hear them like talking. And for me, I kind of already know that that's maybe not a good sign, because I feel like they didn't want me to know something, and that kind of ended up being true in a weird sense, because they had told me that I was not progressing. So I was like, okay. And it was already Sunday at this point, so I had been in labor for, I don't know how long, I can't math right now, but it had been obviously for quite a while. And then on top of that, I wasn't progressing past 8 centimeters. So they were like, we kind of have to change a plan of action, you know, like, I know you wanted to give birth vaginally, but you've kind of already done your 2 rounds of Pitocin, and it's a little later in the morning on Sunday now. Sorry, it's Sunday, a little later on in the day, going into be what is the afternoon. So they're like, we're gonna give you 1 more hour to dilate. Actually, not even dilate. They told me just literally to progress, whether that be in dilation or like my cervix becoming effaced a little bit more. So they were like, we're gonna give you 1 more hour. We're gonna give you the peanut ball, and you need to start trying to bring that baby down, trying to start, you know, having yourself thin out. So like, this is what's gonna happen. And if within that hour you don't progress at any point or in any which way, you're gonna be having a C-section, because it's too dangerous for you to continue on the Pitocin. And you know, nothing's wrong, thankfully, with you or baby. It's just you can't be, your body's been in active labor for too long. So I was like, okay. Now to put some setting spray and let that. Okay, so they go ahead and tell me that I need to start doing everything I can to progress within that hour. Otherwise, sorry, I'm gonna be having a C-section. So I already kind of started bawling at that point. I was already going through so many emotions after already being told like I wasn't actually at 9 centimeters, I was actually at 8. So it was just a lot going through my mind right now. And the 2 nurses that were trying to help me dilate with the peanut ball and all that, they were super helpful, and I'm so thankful for them. Like, they were super encouraging. But I think they knew at that point that nothing had progressed. I think they just had like an instinctive feeling. I think that's the word, you know, but they were trying to like stall for me I think they could see how scared I was to have a C-section. And okay, I think it should be dry now. They were trying to stall for me because they could see I didn't want a C-section, and eventually they had to, you know, do their job, and they had to call my doctor and let her know that I wasn't progressing, I hadn't progressed, and this is just what was happening. So I was like, okay, you know, like, try not to be scared. And it was ultimately decided that I was going to have a C-section. Eventually they start prepping me for a C-section, and that experience was kind of scary because there's so many things happening to you at once, and I didn't know how to feel. I was crying, my husband was crying, and it was just a lot of emotions in the room. And it's not something you anticipate to ever really happen, even though you're told, you know, by your OB that, hey, a C-section is possible, should it be necessary. You kind of, at least for me, you know, I kind of just brushed it off as like, you know, everything had been going fine in my pregnancy. I don't see why there would be a reason for a C-section. But, you know, my mom always said, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I guess I told God too many of my plans that I wanted to push. And so ultimately, it was decided that it was best that I have a C-section. The C-section experience was interesting, and whenever I think about it, I get emotional because I feel like I didn't do like my best, or like, you know, I didn't get the chance to push. So I have like a lot of feelings about the C-section. But whenever I look at my baby girl and I see how beautiful and healthy she is, and how healthy I am, and how everything went well, you know, I'm thankful for that at the end of the day, because I couldn't have asked for a better experience, even though it was a scary one and something that I didn't anticipate. With the C-section, I got like the super shakies. I was super nervous, and they have to have you hold your arms out like in a T, so, and they have to stay like that, and it was really hard for me to do it because I was so nervous. And eventually, you know, they tell you it's gonna be long because they have to, because it can take that long. But mine was only probably like 30 minutes, and eventually my baby girl was born. And after your child is born, I got to see her for a little bit, but then they had to go and take her for, you know, like her vitals, make sure everything was okay. So Rick nor baby girl were able to stay with me for the rest of the duration. So it was like 15 minutes that, you know, I was waiting for baby girl to come out, and then, you know, 15 minutes without Rick and baby girl there. So it wasn't too bad, but during that time it felt like an eternity. And eventually, after the procedure is done, they take me to the recovery room. I get to have my skin to skin with my baby girl, and then everything just flows normally like, you know, any other birth would have. It was an interesting experience, and, you know, I really did, obviously, I don't know how to have my hair. I obviously didn't anticipate having a C-section, so that was interesting, but I wouldn't have it obviously any other way, because my baby girl is here now, and she's happy and healthy, and I'm happy and healthy. And honestly, shout out to my doctor. She's actually not the OB I saw throughout my entire pregnancy. It was like a colleague, but I had actually seen her once, so I think God knew, you know, the plan that was gonna happen. So I had met her once, and she did really good on my stitches. Like, I've healed really well. She did an immaculate job. She did a really good job. And yeah, so that is my birth story. I actually finished getting ready. You know, I try not to do a lot of makeup anymore, only because it's super time consuming now having a baby. And then she's in that phase where she's like grabbing everything, and I don't want her to like scratch the makeup off. Like, I don't know, I'm just kind of scared of like her like eating that stuff, because she has her hands in her mouth a lot too. But yeah, so that is my birth story. If you guys ever want to know like anything specific, you can go ahead and like ask me, or leave a comment down below. I kind of left out a lot because it is like obviously a super long story. You're pregnant for 40 weeks, you know, and then like the whole process, it took I don't know how many hours. So yeah, if you have any questions that are like specific, you can feel free to DM me or leave a comment down below, and I'll do my best to respond if I have the answer to that. But yeah, so thank you guys for joining me in getting ready and talking with me about how I gave birth to my beautiful baby girl. Bye guys! Also guys, as I'm editing, I realized that I stopped showing you guys the products like literally probably halfway through, if not even sooner than that. So if you want to know what products I used, please just leave me a comment below, because I do apologize for not being able to multitask and get ready with you guys and tell a story. So most of it was elf, you know, just to let you know, put that out there. Most of it was elf, but you know, if you want like the product in specific that I used, just let me know in the comments below. And again, I do apologize, so I will try and get better at that.